We're talking trades on today's Cowboys Report. First up, what Jerry Jones had to say about the Cowboys potentially making a deal. And we'll break down Adam Schefter's trade candidates and who could maybe make some sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Before we get into that, question for you guys watching at home, on the road, at the office, at work, whatever. Do you want the Cowboys to buy at the trade deadline? I'm not so sure it's a good idea, but you guys can sound off in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Let's begin with Jerry Jones. He once again expressed interest in a trade, but specifically mentioned, as the Cowboys always love to operate, if another team called them first. Here's what Jerry said. If there's a trade to help the defense, we're in position to make that trade. That doesn't mean we're going to make one. But we certainly had in mind when we started this season that we were going to have ammo to be more flexible in terms of what we do with the roster as we move along this year and, of course, as we get into the next couple of years. I don't have a trade in mind right now at all. That comes about right now if someone is on the phone calling. That's nothing really new from Jerry Jones, actually. He has said something extremely similar for really months now since the Micah Parsons trade. Well, we have the stuff to go do one if we want to. Got to be the right deal, blah, blah, blah. I think too many people overreacted to this because it also came with Jerry Jones saying he thought that they were contenders. But there's nothing new in the mindset change from Jerry Jones. Of course, they could decide to trade. I don't think there's actually anything imminent. And look, that could change in a week. That could change in 2 weeks. That could stay the case where they lose the next 2 games and they go, we can't really be buyers. And they do take the more long-term, proper approach, I believe. This felt like what Jerry Jones likes to do. Throwing chum in the water, seeing if you get any bites. Seeing if a team gets desperate enough to call you. Because the Cowboys, I think erroneously, well, not erroneously, but like improperly believe that you lose leverage if you're the one making the calls. And in a way you do, but also like, you know what, sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and the Cowboys don't always adopt that mindset when it comes to trades. We'll get to Schefter's trade candidates here in a second, but will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. Will Dallas make a deal? So Adam Schefter, earlier this week on ESPN, listed 30-plus trade candidates, said a dozen trades or more could end up happening. We're going to go through the trade candidates and who might make some sense for the Cowboys and then ignore those who, don't actually make any sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's begin positionally. So we'll begin with the running backs. We're going to skip the quarterbacks. We'll mention all the ones that don't make any sense at all for the Cowboys later. Breece Hall was first up here. And the Cowboys didn't run the ball well last week. That's worth mentioning. Felt like some offensive line issues there. I think Breece Hall actually could be available from the Jets, and it wouldn't be a shock to me if he gets dealt. I didn't buy a preseason trade, but when they're 0-6, shipping off guys who might not be there next year actually does make a lot of sense. The Braylon Allen injury might make it less likely. I don't think the cost involved for Dallas makes sense because Javonte Williams has actually played pretty well this year. Same is true for Alvin Kamara on that front. Alvin Kamara has not been, really hasn't been the same guy that I think that we are accustomed to seeing. I thought he was better last year, and then he kind of cooled off a little bit after that. He was up to back above 4 yards per carry, above 4.1 for the first time in years, back down below 4. Kind of feels like at times that, the reality is Kendre Miller is kind of cutting into his workload. He's also a rental. And in general, with where this Cowboys team is at, I don't think a rental really makes that much sense. Jaelen Wright is next up. A guy that I liked a lot. I wanted the Cowboys to take him when he came out of Tennessee because he had the big playability. He has not been very impressive so far in Miami. He's also redundant with Devon Achane and different player than Ollie Gordon and is just kind of stuck being the third back. This is a more long-term fit. I'm not opposed to it. Might make more sense, though, after the year because you do kind of want to see what you have in Jaden Blue, who has more yards after contact than actual yards this season. Final name at running back, Devin Singletary. This is a veteran rental. I don't think you're in the veteran rental market. This is several years removed from actually being pretty good in Houston for that one season. But he's been surpassed by Tyrone Tracy, surpassed by Cam Scadaboo. I don't think the fit for a veteran running back, unless Javonte gets hurt, really makes that much sense for you with where you're at. Today's show is made possible by Omaha Steaks. Visit Omaha Steaks for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. And for an extra $35 off, make sure you use promo code COWBOYS at checkout. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety. Every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. And the early Black Friday sale is the perfect time to shop for the best deals. They have an exclusive lineup of USDA certified tender steaks, and their fan favorite filet mignons have achieved the distinction of USDA certified very tender. They are America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Save big with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code COWBOYS at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. But that's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and use promo code COWBOYS at checkout. That link and the promo code will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. Let's go to the defensive trade candidates that might make some sense for the Cowboys. Defensive tackle, Jay Toya and Mozzie Smith are Jags, frankly. Shelby Harris has bounced around. He's been a journeyman over the course of his NFL career. Does have 3 TFLs this year for the Browns. Malik Collins has actually played super well for Cleveland, which is kind of frustrating and to an extent annoying on that front for the Cowboys. There's another ex-Cowboy having some success elsewhere. I don't know if a veteran DT is the best path because you've invested. Yeah, you have 3 of them. I kind of want to see if I can develop something out of my young guys in Jay Toya and or Mozzie Smith, and you're not really in a buy rental mode, frankly. Now, the big name at edge is Trey Hendrickson. We'll see what his injury status is. I don't know if he's going to play against the Steelers short week coming off the back injury. Chance he's available. Chance he's not available. Bengals could win a game or 2 and not decide to sell. They could say, we traded for Flacco. It didn't work. It is time to sell at the trade deadline. The issue with Hendrickson is he's good. There's going to be an asking price that's high. It's probably going to be at least a second-round pick. And do you want to and or should you invest in the contract? Because you can't trade a second-round pick to be a rental right now. That doesn't really make any sense for the Cowboys. Next up is Keon White, the Patriots edge rusher, who has really not been very impactful at all this year. He has really fallen off. He's been a bit banged up, but he's fallen out of favor with the new regime in New England. He had a pretty solid 2024, and I was impressed by some of the stuff he was doing. Looked like the breakout was coming. He has very much regressed this year. My main concern with Keon White, although he is big enough that it gives you kind of a two-way player that you need at defensive end based on how he played in 2024, is it just another, you don't have a dude at edge and you got another second, third, fourth level pass rusher? Cam Jordan fits the veteran buy, rental mode. Again, does that fit you for the Cowboys right now? He's also not the same player he was in his prime. 2.5 sacks through 6 games played this year is better than what he was doing the previous couple seasons, but I think Cam Jordan is more name than production at this point in his NFL career. I don't really think you're going to get 2022 Cam Jordan at this point. He said he wants to retire a Saint, by the way. Same with Alvin Kamara. So if those guys don't want to get traded, then I don't think the Saints would forcibly ship them out. Another name on Schefter's list was Anthony Jennings, and he's done some good TFL stuff in years past, but he's got 7 tackles this season. If you were going to do more, 4-3 under, 3-4 looks where you got an outside linebacker kind of standing up on the edge, Jennings actually could make some sense. But I am of the mindset if you're making a trade, it should not be for a guy. It should be for a dude. Jennings is not a dude at this time. And you might be able to argue that Bradley Chubb and Jaelen Phillips are dudes, or at least have been dudes and or have the potential to be dudes. Chubb has 4 sacks this year. He has been more productive in actually getting the quarterback down. There are contract issues here. We spent a lot of time on this. I don't want to go too far in depth on it. The videos are on the channel. The Dolphins don't save much, and the Cowboys owe quite a bit of money if they were to trade for Chubb next season. But in theory, you have your edge locked in. I would not be surprised if Jaelen Phillips is the one who ends up getting moved. The Dolphins paid Bradley Chubb. They have Chop Robinson due for more playing time. And I also wouldn't be shocked, if Phillips gets going. He's been close a lot. The pressure rate's pretty high. The sack numbers are not there at this time. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gets traded and, in the 9 games he plays for, he gets 5 sacks in those games or something kind of impressive, 6 sacks in those games. But he's also going to be a free agent. So do you want to pay him? Because if you're trading for him right now, you should work on an extension, frankly. Because you don't have the franchise tag, that's probably going to go to George Pickens. So pick one to trade for if you want to trade for one of them. BC for Bradley Chubb, JP for Jaelen Phillips. The Titans are obvious sellers because they already fired their head coach. Arden Key, Draymond Jones, the first Titans names we discuss on today's video. These guys fit the mold of we need another depth pass rusher. We're a contender. We need somebody to give us a handful of snaps a game, and he could be our 3rd or 4th edge. That's not what Dallas needs right now, though. They don't need that player at this time. Now, I am intrigued by Riq Woolen. Now, moving forward, contractually, there are some question marks there. He wants a big contract. He's also been benched in Seattle. I don't think he's trending towards getting a big contract. He might want to go try to prove it and then hit free agency or do something. But his archetype, super long and athletic, is exactly what the Cowboys love. I just wonder if they're going to go buy another corner or if they're more inclined to give Diggs and Bland the remainder of the season, move on from Diggs and look elsewhere in free agency. Roger McCreary, I am a big fan of. I've actually always liked his game. He's an undersized corner, and he does not fit at all what the Dallas Cowboys like. This guy has some of the shortest arms in football, but he's a scrappy corner. He makes plays. He's able to do inside and outside stuff. He's a good football player. It's not the type of player the Cowboys historically have targeted very often. Let's talk safeties. Kyle Duggar, I think, very much is available. The contract is a huge issue right now because he's been relegated to backup duty in New England. Far cry removed from a pretty impactful 2023 campaign. I do think he's better than some of your safeties. I just don't know if the cost contractually makes a lot of sense for you. Then there's Tony Adams of the Jets, the Jet safety there. I think he's available because the Jets they're bad. They probably want to play Malachi Moore. Apologies for doing that. I don't know if he's that much better. And even if he is, he doesn't have that much time left on his contract. Is a minimal upgrade at safety that doesn't drastically change you worth it for where this team is at? Because Jerry says that they're a few small things away. I don't think they are. I think they've got real schematic issues in the back end and personnel issues in the front end. We'll have more Cowboys trade talk and George Pickens talk. I'm sure you've seen some of that stuff. I'll go in depth on it and explain a lot beyond the trades, the contract, all of that. So hit that sub button if you haven't already. Before we go, rapid fire, I do want to mention the other trade candidates that were mentioned by Schefter. You're not trading for a quarterback. You don't need Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson. All 3 Saints top receivers were mentioned, but you don't need a wide receiver, as good as Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are. Same with guys like Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard, future Steeler when they can't get somebody better. Tyler Lockett, you're getting healthier at receiver. You're getting Lamb and Turpin back. You don't need one. Same with tight ends. David Njoku's obviously, same with Mark Andrews and Chico Okonkwo. They're better than Luke Schoonmaker, but you don't need to do an upgrade at tight end and give up assets right now. Offensive line, you're getting healthier. There are some good players on this list, but it doesn't really make any sense for the Cowboys to go buy a lineman. Although I wouldn't be shocked if Evan Neal is a potential reclamation project next year in free agency.